next Friday, Franklin Central. And we're thinking about hosting.
Welcome back, everybody, to Indiana Sports Radio Network, God's Word 24/7 and sports. And let's go inside the Coach's Corner now and get a visit with the head coach of the Southport Cardinals, Brandon Winters. And how are you, Brandon?
Good. Coming off a road win in the conference, this has always put you in a good mood.
I was getting ready to ask, are we ever going to come home?
Yeah, next week. Next week. It's another tough road trip down to Bloomington this week, but kids have handled it well.
I think we're all anticipating the September 22nd dedication night for Cardinals Stadium, but let's talk football right now. 2-2 on the season, and better yet, 2-0 in the conference, which kind of puts you a leg up on Bloomington South right now. Going down to Bloomington South, still a very experienced team that got all the way to the semi-state last year. Another team to be really tested.
Yeah, they're experienced, and they're also extremely well coached. It's a tough environment down there. Not only the bus ride, but the fans usually do a good job of supporting them. So we're just going to have to play our best game to beat them, and that's really true anytime you go on the road in the conference.
Defensively, the team has performed so well in terms of a unit, and I keep noticing that during our broadcasts. The one thing that we keep waiting on is the offensive game to explode,
Sure.
Perhaps this week.
Perhaps, but defensively, we can't move on without talking about them. The way you put it about them playing in a unit is probably the best way. This is not the most talented defense we've had, but they're producing probably at the highest level of what we had in the last couple of years. And it's funny because they've played together so well. The cohesion's been really good. Last week, they were yelling at each other, and came over and said, "Guys, what are you doing? We're up by 2 scores." And they said, "Yeah, we're mad." They got across the 50, and they weren't joking because until at that point they had done a really good job. So we hope that continues. Offensively, it's just kind of, we got 11 guys, and one guy's messing up on each play. And so we've got to find a way to get all 11 on the same page at the same time.
The one thing that we kept commenting on last week at Terre Haute was the fact that each and every week it seems to be somebody else that's stepping up to make a headline there.
Sure. Yeah, it's kind of just whatever it takes, whoever gets the opportunity. Last week we had a couple young receivers. LaMarco Yates, who stepped out from running back to kind of help on the perimeter, made a couple big first down catches. Lucas Willoughby made a couple key first down catches to keep drives going. And defensively, it's kind of a who's who of first-year starters out there. Even some of our upperclassmen are in their first year playing varsity football. And, it's a group that we've had our early struggles, but they've responded well to challenges.
How have you believed to have managed the game thus far through the first 4 games in terms of time management, especially when you're up on a team like that?
Well, time management is one of those things you really can't practice it. It just kind of comes from experience. And luckily, this is a very experienced staff. Gene Lazan up in the booth has been at this about as long as I've been alive. And he really helps me in time management situations, talks me through different possibilities. Ultimately, my decisions are, what we go with. But the staff does a good job of kind of staying calm and helping me through that.
And speaking of time, it's also so important as to when you call your timeouts that things need to get done, right?
Yeah. With timeouts, the rule of thumb is if you're using them on defense, they're bad timeouts. You want to save those for end of half where you can kind of draw something up. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that. In fact, in both of the last 2 games, there were some situations where we just didn't like the play call. And we were able to save them, and at the end of the half or end of the game, we were able to make a good adjustment.
Coach, at this particular point in the season, we're kind of the midpoint right now, and it's always kind of important as you move forward to really establish the identity of your team.
Yeah, we're struggling with that a little bit right now. Defensively, I think we have our identity. Offensively, we kind of pride ourselves on not being stubborn. In other words, our identity is what our athletes allow us for it to be. And with so many new faces around on both sides of the ball, we're still kind of working on that.
Is that something that you notice in the maturation of your young guys, especially after a game night, like coming back on Saturday, to see how the mood is as to, being a little psychological?
Yeah, you look at our situation. You start out on the road, neutral site against back-to-back state champions, both really good teams. And then you've got, a road trip to a team with a new stadium, township rival, road trip to Terre Haute, road trip to Bloomington South, and it's really easy for the kids, I think, to feel sorry for themselves. And this group really hadn't done that. I mean, they've come to practice, they've come to work every week. They don't really complain or talk about it. They just kind of show up on Saturday morning, ready to learn from last night and move on with this week.
It kind of reminds me of the same scenario that we hear from Southport basketball coach Kyle Simpson saying, give me the best. That's what I want to do.
No, that's all you can ask for is, can you be the best version of yourself today? And if we have most of our guys or all of our guys doing that, then we're going to get better.
And also, that's a way to really grade yourself against the top opponents.
Sure. It's interesting, Columbus North, I think, is a great example. We always say, we wish we could play them at the beginning because they do such a good job. We see them on film with common opponents. They do such a good job of getting their kids better that we feel like that's kind of what we're competing with. We always feel like we got a pretty solid group, but we got to make sure they get better because if they don't, we're going to get passed up.
And Franklin Central got by Columbus North last week, so a little bit of a surprise there, and that'll be our opponent next week.
Yeah, we'll talk about them next week. Certainly they're making enough noise for us to pay attention, but we've got a pretty tough opponent on the road this week.
Always good visiting with you, Coach. Let's go get one.
Thank you.
All right. You're good. Thank you. And one more thing. We'll do this, and then I'll let you go. And we'll just keep this rolling.
I said it was okay when it was going to be at 3:30. 2:30 is right in the middle of our practice.
I'm going out the door, fellas.
Look about right there. You can go anytime you want.
Hi, this is Coach Brandon Winters inviting you to join Steve McClure, Trevor Brooks, and James Berry when the Colts travel to Conference Indiana rival Bloomington South. Oh, good Lord. That's my bad.
Oh, God. I know I work for them too, but go.
Still going?
3, 2, 1.
Hi, this is Coach Brandon Winters inviting you to join Steve McClure, Trevor Brooks, and James Berry when the Cardinals travel to Conference Indiana rival Bloomington South. Football Friday on SRN begins at 6, pregame at 6:45, and kickoff at 7. Indiana Sports Radio Network, where you're always in the game.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
I didn't get it in one take this time. Damn it.
Actually,